Hi, my name is Felix Frey.
And I'm Marco Rajnica.
We're here to find great trading opportunities that target 150 to 400% returns. And you? Well, you're going to help us do it every single day. So welcome. This is the Winning Picks Podcast. This podcast is for educational purposes only. Options Geek LLC is not a broker-dealer. Options Geek LLC, Felix Frey, and Marco Rajnica are not registered investment advisors. Keep in mind, options involve substantial risk and are not suitable for everyone. Please consult your own investment advisor before doing any trading. Make sure you read the full disclaimer at the end of this episode. My man.
Hey, Mr. Felix.
How are you?
Back at it again. Missed it.
What a Memorial Day weekend on the East Coast. It was like rainy, bad. It was, but apparently people got out. So that's always a good thing. What's going on, man? Did you see this NIO today?
Good. Yes,
timing?
I have. Yes, I have. Very good timing. Right on the spot. And the idea you gave out was pretty good. So I encourage everybody to go and check it out, see what it is, see what it's like.
Good.
And the full analysis behind it is really valuable, I think, for all people to actually see how you're thinking while doing the technical analysis and then as showing on the new options chain. Very good.
I think it's awesome. I think you laid it out really honestly. I think it's the best one yet. So keep it up. That one was really makes you think both ways. I get conflicted. When I think about NIO, I think you try your best not to like fall into the trap of just saying China. It's 1.5 billion people, but at the end of the day, it's China. There's a lot of people and there's a lot of cars for sale in the next couple of years, and they're not, there's not many Chinese, you don't see many Chinese brand cars in the United States, right? If any. And so, and China's a superpower. So ultimately they're going to want to be like the United States and, want their Fords and the GM trucks and all over the world. There's a lot of people. So you got these three cars, NIO, XPEV, Li. Like I said, if you're thinking about buying them, you buy a basket, the three. Who knows who wins? It looks like NIO is a potential big winner here. But then, that's the positive. And then the negative, I hate the fact that, you can't act, you don't really own actually the company.
Right.
I hate the fact that you own it. I don't like that. I think there's something wrong with that. And ultimately, that gets into the fight between the United States and China and how those. We want accounting on it. We want, do they just say, forget the U.S. market, let's just take it out of the U.S. market? And then what happens there? The ADRs come for sale. I don't know. It's interesting. It's an interesting part of the story. And then valuation's always high and you got a lot of other things going. But that's interesting. And then I would say what's negative for our good friend Tesla. Did you see this today? Did you see this article? So
yes,
Tesla, you see my screen here?
That was crazy. Yep.
All right, so here I have, will Tesla survive China's overcrowded EV market shakeout? Wow. So now, one thing here factually that I like to see, the country now has 846, the country now has 846 registered auto manufacturers. Wow. According to a note from Bloomberg, who contends that a shakeout is looming. Even better, 300 of those manufacturers are in the business of making new energy vehicles. Clearly, like we said, the top three are NIO, XPEV, and XPEV, we're going to call it in Li. That's one thing. But then it starts talking about how the government is asking companies about the cars their workers are driving and basically saying, we don't want Tesla cars being bought. Maybe not bought, but we don't want them brought onto the corporate properties because there's cameras and whatnot, and obviously they don't have no control of that. So it says, recall, we noted over the weekend, okay, this article here that says that government bodies have been asked to check and report on employees who own Teslas in Zhejiang and Guangxi. Employees are being forbidden from driving into certain official areas due to supposed security risks. I guess they could say whatever they want. It's incredible. If that's true, you would think, wow, stock should be down. But having, you put a trader hat on and say, oh, the stock is actually flat. Market's probably up a little bit, probably flat as well. You would think that's more to the negative story. These things tend to kind of not mean anything until they mean anything. Right now, with that story out and with that article, and if it's true, if there's any credence to it, then then on the near term, the stock looks like it's hanging in there, and that would be a positive thing for the stock.
Right.
We have this trade that let's look at it here. I was looking at NIO before, but let's look at this Tesla June trade that we have, just to sort of show you. We're going to keep track here because we're getting close. We're about 14 days from expiration here, so we want to see how this. I want you to see how this acts, right into expiration. I think it's important for you to see one full swing. So every day we're going to keep on coming back to this one just to see where it's at. But right now we had the just to remind people, we have the 640, 550, 640, 550 1x2 put spread. We paid $7. This was when the stock was in the 700 or low 700s, and eventually dropped. It went from 7. We've seen it as high as 35, 36. Now today we can look at the 540s are around, sorry, the 550s are around 5.5. So let's call it $11. 5.5 times 2 is $11, and the 640 is around 33. Let's call it 33.75. 30. Let's call it 34, just for argument's sake. 34 and 11.5 is 22.5. So today it's 22.5, and remember, it was 24. So this was only about 2 weeks ago now. It was when Tesla was 560, okay, it was $24. Today, the market is now $60 higher. We have this 1x2 put spread, and it's only $1.50 lower. So we kind of want it right where this is, right where we want it, right? Because going into expiration, if we get a pullback now from this, we had a pretty sharp move from about 545 to right here. If we get a $30, $40 pullback, this starts exploding higher. It could be a double, triple from here. So it could go from, say, 22, 21.5, 23, somewhere around this range. And it gets back to 600. You could see it start heading towards 35 again, and maybe even a little bit more, because the 550 puts won't gain so much value, even with Tesla down 30 points into, let's call it, the end of next week. Okay, so I think it's going to be interesting to follow. This is where it gets interesting to watch these things and to see. So if you're going to do them, you get a feel. It's always good before doing any strategy to get a feel for how they work, how they move, and what the risks are. Okay, so that's how Tesla. Today it's around 22, but remember, we're up $70 from 56. $60 from 56 and 560, and the put spread 1x2 only is down $1.50. Okay, so keep that in mind. But the other news in Tesla had to do with AMD.
Yes.
So AMD actually signed an agreement. They got a new customer, and so everybody gets excited here. Stock is up, and you have all this volume here. A lot of it is calls, near-term calls. Even June's AMD has been in the dumpster for a while, so a lot of just call activity across the board. Intel over the weekend as well. That brings me to Intel. Intel, he was one of the first to say that the shortage was going to go a little bit longer than what was originally planned. He came out yesterday and said it again, saying it could actually go further into 2022 than people believe. And that's a big comment, coming from Intel. They control. Remember, they might not be the fastest growing chip, but they control the market, so they know where the market is. As far as revenue goes, they're the largest revenue source chip maker in the business, so they have a clue as to what's happening. And he's basically saying it can go on deeper into 2022 than most people think. That said, if you looked, because I thought it was interesting to see how people would react to that, and sure enough, in September, people had been long calls, and it looks like they just gave up here. These look like they came for sale right on the open. And there was already 25,000 open interest. I actually think if it's not the same person, this is just an overrider, but someone is saying, you know what, maybe dead money over the summer. We're just going to wait and hear what happens. So you have this confluence of events where Intel is talking negative. AMD announces a Tesla customer. I think I think if you go back to AMD, and you wanna get a little sneaky, this level we've talked about. This is just an idea I'm throwing out. Like, you have this situation here where something like Tesla, people are buying calls, a lot of call buying today, and you can see that the stock has not held. So it's not like it's call buying and the stock's at the high. So
Mhm.
the stock goes up and on this call buying, and it's being pushed down. We have this sort of, let's call it here now, going lower. This is the level we've been talking about. We're getting close to sort of here, right? That's like X marks the spot, right around it did capture the 50-day, the 200 days a magnet. It got close today and it sold off a little bit. So what I'm thinking about here is, let's look forward 3 months. Earnings come out again. If these companies, if things are bad into 2022, Intel saying it's bad until 2022, and these companies have to report quarter after quarter, at some point the market might say there's no growth here just yet. It's this, is the market gonna grow or continue to grow enough just in time for the chip? There's a timing, just in time for the manufacturing companies to build all of these chips. Is the market gonna grow before that? Is it going to wait until that happens? Like, what happens in the time being? And I think we're going to get that answer in the next 4 months. But I think it's interesting how it works, right? That right now we're in this chip shortage. It's not going to clear up until 2022. The companies are telling us that in the earnings. The market doesn't care. It says doesn't matter. Chip shortage, still this humongous supply. But at some point, it's a chicken or the egg. How can we grow as a nation? How can Biden's plan to build everything grow if there's a chip shortage? They need chips to actually build everything. So,
Right.
if I get it, if that grows, then the market's going to hum along and the economy's hum along. But if there's no chips, how does that happen? And if that doesn't happen, then how do the chips? The chips are not going to say anything good for a year. And it might just be dead money. And I can tell you that the big guys, they don't necessarily like hanging around dead money, right? If it's dead money for a while, it's going to be dead money for a while. That's what I'm concerned about. I'm just concerned about that. I like the chips. I like that the way they trade. They've come down. They're trying to push back. I just get a little bit nervous that there's this catch-22. What comes first, either the growth or the chips? And if Intel's telling us it's not for a year and a half,
Mhm.
well, that's a big problem. That's a big problem. So there's something, to me. There's something a little bit off. Um, Not saying anything except that the market still wants to hum up and it's going sideways, when in fact it doesn't want to give anything back. So I think it's something to keep looking at, this chip shortage. I think it's a big deal. But as an idea, I was considering, this is such a big level. And when it gets to this level, everybody is nervous. The volatility spikes. You might be able to look at something where it's, an AMD put spread here, where you're buying August. Okay, so you're buying something like August now, 70. That level is the 74 level. So you buy something like the 70, maybe even like the 75, less money, the 72 and a halves. Because
Okay.
if it breaks that level, that's the level that, it's the watershed moment. So 70, 72 and a half, you can pay $2.15, and then even maybe sell the Julys, because really we think we're looking for that earnings announcement. So you look at maybe selling like a July, even the 70s or something like that, so it's 60 cents. So call it, let's see, 72 and a half, 70, call it about, let's say $1.50. So for $1.50, if for something AMD pre-announces something that happens, I'm not saying it will, but let's just say something does happen, and it goes straight through and it trades 60, you're stopped at you laid $1.50 to make $1. But what you're really trying to play is, I think the move is going to happen somewhere during the earnings or right after, and you can put that trade on for $1.50 and kind of hold it, and it's just a placeholder for right now. If it gets down to 75, I think it'll be up money. This is not going to be like a grand slam trade. It's almost like a placeholder right around this range. So I would think about looking at AMD again, but on the downside. On this positive news today, we're still in a downtrend. Something to mess around with, but maybe it's as simple as the 72.5 65s for, instead of playing Mr. Surgeon, the 72.5 65s in August for $1.35. That actually at the end of the day, now that I'm saying it, probably sounds better. This trade, the first trade is you got to be a surgeon. It's like you're laying $1.50. The most it can be up until August is 250, maybe 275. And yeah, maybe let me rethink that. I'm going to say 72.5 65 for $1.50 placeholder. I don't want to look. I'll look back at earnings, maybe 1/3 of a position, and it's there. I know it's there, and if anything happens and from here to now, then I can go back and revisit. So that would be an AMD. That's how I think of like leaving something small that you don't have to look, you don't have to worry about it, and it's there just in case. And if it actually does happen, 72.5 to 65 to 7.5 for $1.50, so it's $6. So you make 4-1 on that trade, and it was just a placeholder just to sort of have. If not, if it zooms through 90, it's 1/3 of a position. It's very small, and you got buy on the chips, and the market should have been sort of if AMD is trading 90 plus, then the market is actually doing a lot better.
Okay.
So that's I think, just throwing something out, looking at the news, watching the tape, and seeing how 74 didn't go away. Remember, 74 was saved by the bell by AMD themselves. You think AMD is not looking at this either? They came in right here at 74. They came in right there to actually buy back stock. So 74 is a big level. All right.
Okay. Nice.
Let's move to. Go ahead. What do we got?
Yeah, like talking about these sort of companies on Wall Street Bets, there's a lot of talk about BlackBerry.
Oh yeah, BlackBerry is another one. And I mean, the minute you say BlackBerry, I have no idea why. It's talking about a strong brand. It zooms me back to like 1997 when I was in New York. I had my BlackBerry. I was like the last person to have a BlackBerry, and I'm like, this is cool, it's a little typewriter thing. And then they disappeared. And It was supposed to be, that was the one. Every business, everyone on Wall Street had a BlackBerry. Everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually that phased out, obviously, but they turned themselves into the BlackBerry. I probably should pull one out. That actually, I swear I have one somewhere. I don't know why I have it. Some box just to have. I mean, everything's selling for like, maybe build an NFT, take a picture, an NFT, I paint the picture. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so BB, they do security. That's all I know. AI, security, networks, enterprise. Really all I know. But the Wall Street Bets crowd is very much into the name, and they keep buying. I see them buying. They've been buying a lot of calls over the last, I would say, couple of weeks. I mean, winner, chicken dinner. These guys they're on a roll here, and they're picking names and pushing them wherever they want to go. So this one is interesting. You could see the upside calls. Their bid, June's. They're all over the map. It's like a swarm of call buying. Not as big as AMC, but big enough in this type of name. I mean, there's a lot of upside calls. So I don't know if this is number 3. There seems like there's a lot of candidates that I'm seeing, but that's something to think about. But it's AI, and when I think of AI, I think of who the Palantirs of the world. So PLTR, which is another name that they're swarming around, PLTR. And one to take a look at that I've been looking at is IBM. I don't see much today, but IBM, I like names that do this, and I think you should. Everybody has their own technical analysis and their own look at things, but let's how do stocks go, right? Remind you, how do stocks go? Stocks go like this in general, right? They move in, they go up and down. So when you see a stock go from like this, such a big move, it's supposed to go like this, right? You would think that's the natural tendency for stocks, supply and demand. It's a mechanism of buying and selling and equilibriums. And when it doesn't do this and it does sort of this here, that looks like a flag to me, and this is a big level, clearly. Okay, this is a big level in
Yep.
IBM, right? The breakout here, right? So you have a breakout, and then here, look, they supported it, zoomed it up, 142, right? So on this day, 136 on good volume, right around here. We're looking at good volumes. Okay, talking about 15 to 20 million shares in IBM. You don't see that often. You see it here when it was straight down. Okay, and over here, this was an up and this was a down. So people are worried about this move over here. They're worried that it moved up and then eventually it caught people again and flat-footed, and then they get hit pretty hard over here. Again, it was going up, and then they did the same thing to them here. Here, it made its big move here, and it's holding here. So it's interesting to me that the way this is playing out. This is again a full. Should go back in time just to give you some. IBM's done nothing in a very long time, but they got a new CEO, and this guy, he's got this cloud engineering type of brain, where he was in the thick of things and grew up in IBM. So I believe he might even come from Red Hat, but he's very, very smart guy. I don't know if he's a great CEO yet, but he's a very smart guy. Trying to change the company from where it's been, which is really, they make right now still 1/3. Let's see, 10 years since the crash. So this is done. You see, it's done nothing for a very long time. Okay, they do a third of their business is consulting, which is thousands of IBM salesmen trying to sell consulting services to the major corporations. It's an okay business. It's really, it's a drag on the company, but they do 1/3 of their revenues in this consulting business. It's not an exciting business. They're trying to sell IBM products. What they've done is they're gonna spin off, or split or spin. I'm not sure if it's a split or spin, but they're gonna spin off the most of this consulting service and contract business, and into a new company called something KY. I can't even. I think it's a bad name because you can't remember it, but KYN Kyndryl or something. It's something like that, and that's going to happen later in the year. But essentially, what they want to leave. This is the interesting part. So, and this is the part that people should look towards, and if you want, dig in a little bit. I think it's interesting. You got to imagine. You really have to imagine what's IBM going to look like next year. Well, next year you're going to own IBM, IBM, and you're going to own this something. Let's look it up. What's the so I can say it. IBM spinoff. IBM spinoff. What is it? Kyndryl. See if I can remember. 2 Y's. Kyndryl.
Yep.
So you have this Kyndryl. They'll spin off this Kyndryl, and you'll have IBM and Kyndryl. Okay, and Kyndryl is going to have this consulting. But now because they're separated, they're going to be able to sell solutions. Obviously, they'll sell IBM solutions, but they'll be able to sell other solutions, I presume. Okay, new company, you could sell whatever the hell you want. Okay, so you go into a corporation, you go do whatever. You're going to own that company. If you want that company, which hasn't been great for IBM for years, that's going to be valued at something. Okay, whatever the market wants to value that. And they're going to give it to the market at that price, and it's going to be spun off. And then IBM is going to become this basically quantum computing and AI. And this CEO is understanding that customers want solutions. So when you think of IBM and AI, you think of Watson. That's what the world thinks about, right? They spent years trying to get a computer to beat the chess master. Okay.
Right.
And yeah, that was nice to see. And it showed how good IBM was and what they were doing and incredible stuff. But it didn't translate to profits, right? It didn't say, okay, great, we have this AI and we have this chess. Companies don't need a computer to beat something, someone in chess. That's not what they do. They need solutions with AI. Enter Palantir, which is doing that. So does IBM come out as a competitor to Palantir? I don't know. I can't say that. I'm still trying to dig in and figure out exactly what it means, like, the quantum computing. But there's estimates of quantum computing being $50 to $60 billion business in only the next 5 years. So IBM wants to focus on quantum computing, which is high-powered computing for things like AI. And I think that it becomes an interesting. IBM becomes an interesting story stock as opposed to this sleepy, consulting servicing company where, it's not growing. Revenues aren't growing. They were actually down for many years. So imagine 1/3 of your revenues down every year, 5%. It's a drag on everything else you're trying to do, which, by the way, needs a better story and people are not focusing on that. They're focusing on this big business within IBM that's a drag. So I think it's a big positive, and I think people are going to get excited when all you can own is quantum.
Right.
That's pretty cool, right? All of a sudden, that's the next big thing. The next 5 years, $60 billion opportunity. I think that's what's going to happen. So I would, the fact that IBM has not given it back here, it's trading well. I think if you get above, I mean, we just saw the 10-year chart, and if it can get above, let's go a little further just to see what we're looking at here. Right? You want to get context here. So take a look at this. This is a 15-year chart in IBM. I got to tell you, it's done a lot of work in this range. You have this big move, and you got this here, and you got this 147, right where it is right around now. And you got sort of 95. So look, IBM has caused a lot of misery over the last 15 years. It hasn't done much relative to the market. But if you can sell off this bad consulting business that is a drag and just focus on, hey, IBM is quantum computing and AI, imagine what the story is a year from now. Imagine what they're thinking, what they're saying,
Nice.
new products, AI. That's how I would look at it. It's a cheap stock. You might have to wait a while, but the market seems in tune with it by seeing what it's done here. It seems in tune with what's to come, and they're gaining more and more confidence with the CEO. So a name to watch. We're not throwing all our eggs in one basket, but it's something that I'm thinking about. What's he going to say? Today it's May 2021. What's he going to say in the July earnings in 2022? It's going to be all quantum computing. It's going to be all AI. It's going to be all solutions for customers with AI. It's going to be all cloud computing, cloud infrastructure that includes quantum computing as in the background with AI solutions. These are big, big things to think about. But yes, it is down the line, and you just got to have a little bit of foresight, and you got to be able to wait. They do have a dividend, and they're trading very, very cheap right now. So. That's my pitch on IBM.
Cool.
I'm still looking at it. There's nothing to do with options in the next, say, month or 2 months. I'm looking at it and saying there's something here, and I think there's an options play, but we got to figure it out. I'm trying to wait a little bit and figure things out. Okay.
Cool.
Awesome.
Nice.
What is
nice.
Jeff's a smart guy. Kyndryl will include some 90,000 employees and launch with the client base and include 75 Fortune 100. Yeah. So the market's going to value Kyndryl for what it is. Right? 90,000 employees is big. It's a big company. So they're going to value Kyndryl for what it is. The market's going to tell us, right? And as an IBM holder today, you're going to own that, whatever the market wants to value that, and whatever the market wants to value this quantum. Now, think about, you have a company, QS, QuantumScape is this battery thing, and, they're valuing that at a big number. IBM is still IBM at the end of the day. They still have enormous power and engineers and whatnot and smarts and know-how. They just haven't got the customer situation right. So now you got this, I don't know, I think it could be really exciting a year from now. So we'll be talking about a year from now going, wow, look at this. It's all they're talking about is AI. Who knows? But that's something to think about. And that's how I think about the world. So, I invite people to sort of find their process and think, options is not about just what am I doing today? It's about how do we think about the setup and where things are going, where we think it's a little creativity. It's a little bit of imagining where things might be and how they're going to get there. And that's where we're using the technical analysis. So,
and that's also where you guys can help us. Thanks, Jeff, for the comment. That was great. You guys make sure you comment in the live chat as well as the video afterwards. We really appreciate your insights because we can't catch every single stock, every single news.
Yeah,
and that's great.
Yeah, it's good. We definitely need the help of everyone. So, here's another one that I just saw interesting in the news. I don't know if I have it, but China is now allowing families of 3 kids versus 2. So everybody think that's pretty good. That's a 50% increase. I mean, talk about growth, right? So to me, I had to laugh. I thought to myself, China's got the right game plan, right? Here we are in the United States. We're thinking, let's give money away to make some growth and let's figure this out in this way. China's like, yeah, we can give money too, but you know what? We could just, turn the switch and say, you know what? everybody grow because the middle class I read they're 20% of the middle class, of the growing middle class in the world is China. Okay, which is huge. This is what Buffett was saying 20 years ago, that eventually it's gonna this is what's gonna take over the world, because, and that's why he's long Coca-Cola. He's like, when you get 20% of the middle class is in one area, think about how many Coca-Colas are gonna be sold. Well, they're here. Okay, they are now here, and now as the families have more money, China's basically saying, yeah, now you can have actually more kids, because we need more people to buy more products to support and probably send more people abroad, loyalists, if you will, and say, hey, take the Chinese culture and bring it to everywhere around the world where, we're in Norway selling NIO cars. Go to Norway. Right. Go plant yourself there, right? It's, to me, it's brilliant when you look at it at the chessboard going, I can't believe they just literally flip a switch and they can raise the population within 6-7 years. They have kids. Remember, having a kid, and the stages of childhood, the parents got to buy things. And guess what they got to buy? SUVs, right? They got to send them, there'll be soccer camps in China and basketball camps. It's probably good for Nike in the future, So this is something to think about. And I just thought it was really interesting. It's also interesting that on Friday, I saw PDD stock's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So PDD, okay, on Friday, they were call buyers. And I let the cat out of the bag. But PDD, they were call buyers. And we'll just push this over here. 1 year. So they're call buyers here. Now, I'm looking at this chart, and I just looked at it over the weekend, but you had this big gap and huge volume here. Okay, there's 30 million shares, a huge volume right here. Here's the gap. Okay, so markets like to fill gaps, right? We talk about that here all the time. So the high here, okay, the high here is literally 112.5, 112.70, and it touches 112.5. I mean, it literally 1 minute touches it right here. Okay, you can see that there. And then it shoots back up and comes back down. There's a second dance here. Friday, they start buying calls right here. So someone bought the 138 calls for, I have it here, wrote it down, $1.90 on Friday. They bought 11,000. Today, let's take a look. Today, they are the June 18th. They're selling the 138 calls. Okay, they sold them today at $5. So they bought them on Friday for $1.90. Stock ripped this morning higher, just because I hadn't seen any news, but it seems like it's PDD. All the e-commerce names are up significantly. Baba, JD, PDD, but the guy sells them today, and it looks like, I want to say he's doing something up here, but the 150s, 152.5s, and the 160s, they're all have a lot of volume actually running through them. It's difficult to say what they're doing here, to be honest. I've looked at it already a couple of times here. It is somewhat difficult to say what it looks like. It looks like buying to me. It looks like maybe they're buying some sort of call spread. But it is kind of difficult. I'm not sure if like the 160s, see the 160s here, there's 11,000. I'm not sure if they did a call spread here, but there's a lot of activity in the 150 to 160 range. Stock's up $15, 12% today. This was a home run trade. It looks to me like they're doing something up here for something shooting up towards 150, 160. I don't see any news, really, to be honest. I don't see much news in PDD, but PDD, you're looking at Baba was up this morning significantly, pull back a little bit here, but you're seeing call buying in Baba, and also the other one that is JD. So again, you can look at these charts in here and say, okay, recaptured this right here, 30 to 35 million shares. So the question is, where are these guys? Are they here? The guys that bought it, do they want it? They're here. Stock's a lot lower. It looks like they are here, right? They're coming back here, and you're starting to see, even though some volume here negative, this trumps it, right? You got 15 million shares right back, and it has recaptured sort of that high here. So that's a positive development. You could start making smaller arguments for these like ABC. So 112 to 137, that's $25. 25 plus like 120 approximately is it's 145, which gets you to this level. So again, we're seeing something here, and you can even go back and say, we're close. There's a lot of activity here, breakthrough, a little bit down here, a little bit down here, and we're looking at this. But now it's above the 50 to 200 day. That's a positive development. So you got a lot of positive developments happening right in the last week with PDD here. And, the levels that you're looking at is 145 clears to 170. And then you got sort of a 187, which is this right here. And then we're looking at right around the highs at 210. Okay. If it wants to make a run, I think to do this took 2.5 months. Can it do that? It would be, if you just mirror image this, it would be a sort of toilet bowl. Call it a bowl, toilet bowl, whatever you want to call it. And it would come up right to around there. So you got to imagine, flip this to this side if that's what it's going to do, which means it might take a little bit of time here. But who knows? We're looking, if it's sharp run, I would suspect somewhere around 165, 170, you'll see some good resistance.
Cool. Nice.
Okay, so got to get through 145, 165, but it sort of makes sense of what people are seeing here, because we're showing them again, playing around in the 150 range for June. We're talking 14 trading days. The 138 here, and then we're seeing the 150s, 150s, all of this. A lot of activity between 150 and 160. Okay?
Yeah, nice. Okay.
Good.
Cool.
Good. What's the other big news today? OPEC. Oil.
Oh, yeah. Oil, yep.
Right? So we have...
It was kind of, I didn't really understand it, because it was, supply is going to be going up, but the oil price went up. It's kind of...
Let's see here. So yeah, I read it. It always makes me stop and think how they write it. So OPEC and its non-OPEC partners agreed on Tuesday to gradually ease production cuts. So easing production, okay, means what? Easing production cuts. It's like easing production would be, you would think, good for oil, less supply. Easing production cuts means that there'll be a little bit more supply. The problem is, what they really want to focus on is this. The market's focused on anyway. OPEC Secretary General Mohammed Barkindo said Monday he did not believe higher Iranian supply would be a cause for concern. So the market was very scared about this. The Iranians are looking at their deal again, their nuclear deal, and lifting sanctions and whatnot. So they get back into the market. They sell oil and they dump supply. Prices get crushed, whatnot. The Secretary General Mohammed Barkindo is basically saying, "Don't worry about it. We're going to still ease production. This is not going to, Iran coming in is not going to be a problem, because we see demand right now. We're seeing demand just going through the roof, and it's going to be fine, and everything's been fine. Oil trades to 2-year highs, and there goes Goldman again, right? With last week's OXY upgrade. I told you they hit that Exxon perfect. Looks like they're similar here. I told you I like this trade. That this is interesting. Just go weekly. So you have something like, sorry, I gotta move the years. Let's go 4 years. So you had Oxy again taking out APC, a lot of debt. They basically bought it. They thought they would sell the assets. They take what they wanted. They'd have a lot of free cash flow to pay down the debt, and they pay down the debt with what the assets that they sold. So that was the idea. Last year happened, and that the idea went up in smoke to some extent.
Right.
They almost went bankrupt, frankly. They're fighting out of that. The interest payments that they have to make each quarter is significant. They had to cut the dividend to, I believe, a penny, and there you have it. But the issue is, if oil trades 100, where do you think this stock trades? I mean, oil was trading 100 here, and the stock was 75. Okay, maybe they have a little bit more debt, or there's a little bit more, there's some issues here. So 75, can it trade 50? I would, if oil's trading 100, Goldman thinks oil trades 100. I think the stock trades 50. They have a $35 price target. I suspect as it gets higher, you get another good earnings, they'll just raise that 35. They do that. They don't just say it's going to be worth 50, and when it's 25, they say, okay, let's say 35. And then after the earnings, they raised it. They want us to keep raising and keep sort of the story going, and they want to keep them They want to have a job, right? I'm raising the targets. We're doing good. They probably think the stock, they're looking at this saying it was 100, oil was 100 over here. It's 70 here. We have a difference of $50. And, okay, call it somewhere in the middle. That's 25 plus 25 is 50. So I would say something closer to here. So that's the way I look at the world. And I just thought, is there an easy way to play this? Now, this was my idea. I haven't seen a lot of further out stuff, but I gave it to you last week. The Jan 30 calls, I think they were like $3 or something like that. The point is, they're $3. They're either going to be $25 or they're going to be zero. I don't even think they'll be zero. But if it's one of those things where you can think about, does Oxy go down through 20 again? I mean, if it goes through 20, that means oil has to be going through 20. Oil would have to be starting trading through 50, 45. In this economy, it could happen, but I think you get a lot of leverage if Goldman's right? So they're saying, and it's not like we're that far away. We're getting close. We're in the 70s in the WTI. So let's call it 70. Gets to 100. It's either 40 or 100. Pick your poison. And you have the 30 calls for $3. And not look at it till January. I think Goldman's saying by the end of the year trades $100. Okay. We'll play that. Here's an easy way to play it. $3. Now it's a little more expensive, but $3 and you have your binary sort of event. It is or it isn't. And as time goes on, you'll be able to probably get out of the trade and take off a little bit as you go. So I think that's interesting. I haven't seen people do that trade. I really haven't seen people do that trade. It's surprising to me, frankly. I'm surprised that you're not getting more upside volume in Oxy, to be honest. It's very surprised. So anyway, I think that's the case and something to think about. ExxonMobil, on the other hand, you look at that stock, and today, let's just look at Exxon.
We have Steven. Sorry.
What's that?
We have Steven who got into those Jan 30 calls. He's very, very happy about it.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a great play. I think it's a good sort of, put away, and you don't have to look. It's either going to hit or it's not going to hit. And you have plenty of time. Exxon, again, Goldman upgraded right around here, caught it dead on, and it's trading around 60 here. But today we're seeing, I wanted to see how Exxon was trading today and how they reacted to the news. And you're seeing this looks like a large seller here that someone just took some premium. Okay, so you have a large seller in Exxon, 25,078 cents on a $60 stock, which is about $1. 1.2%. Annualize that over. It's not bad. Annualize that over. What's that? 2 months. So 1.5 months times 8. It's not bad, right? 10%, almost like a 10% annual return, annualized return, somewhere around 10%, 8, 9, 10%. That's nice for Exxon, right? So you could they're selling the 65 calls and just sitting on their stock. So I thought that was interesting just to see them react on the news. What else we're seeing in oil? Did you see anything?
MRO, was it Marathon?
MRO?
Yeah, I think I saw something there.
MRO. Here? June. A lot of shuffling. See the open interest here, 15,000, 8,000, 15,000. So this, I'm gonna imagine the stock was 11 here before. So, okay, it looks like a little bit of a breakout here. But let's take a look. It looks like perhaps people were in some sort of trade here, 1350 call spread or 1215 call spread, and they're just reshuffling. Let's just look at one here. Looks like actually it might have even been a buy here, 42. 35. Let's do this. Buy. Wow, going up. Okay, so it actually looks like a buy. So what it's telling me is that perhaps people were long the stock and they were selling some 12 calls, maybe even selling some 13, 15 call spreads or selling. And now it looks like maybe they're buying it back. So with the stock trading up like this and this type of volume here on the options, it looks like maybe they're coming in and buying it back. Why would they be selling? Probably, well, why were they selling? probably because I think if you look at the chart, they probably didn't think it was going to happen this fast. So they were looking to take in some premiums, and this is a big level. They also could be huge holders of the stock and just taking a little bit of 4,000 is not a lot on a $12, $13 name. Even 10,000 is not that much. So yeah, this is an interesting level. I mean, you can see it here. So it looks interesting. The oil names, this was a level here to think about, right? This is where everything cracked. We're talking about stuff going on here, right? And this was now a new base, and this was a huge move here. So we have a move from 4 to 13. It's $9 move, and in 3 months, they went from March to June. It went straight. It went down here and then just shot back up. This is a pretty bullish development, but we're at this level right here. So keep that level in mind right here. See what it does here, but it's trying to do its magic and float up here. This is the only thing I know about MRO, to be honest, is that it's highly leveraged. So again, highly leveraged companies with a commodity that is at 2-year highs now, pushing, and Goldman saying 100. These things can get on their horse and really start moving. So you're getting, with options, you're getting leverage on a company when the company itself has massive leverage. It's powerful if you get it right. Okay. And it's much more powerful if the options are priced in a way that doesn't reflect that internal leverage. Okay. So for a long time, the stock is trading at here, and it's moving from $6 to $12 is 100%. Now you go from $12 to 100% is $24. Can it do that? You'd have to look at the leverage. How much leverage does it have inside the company?
Okay. Nice. Cool.
Good. Let's see here.
What else we got? We got some airline names like SABR.
Airline and SABR.
SABR, I think that's American Airlines, this company.
So we talked about SABR and sort of SABR. They do the. I mean, the last time I looked, they do the on your phone. The network for the airlines on the phone. They connect everything customer to the corporation, everything in between. So
right.
They do well when the airlines are doing well and the services are being used. So 12 to 14 here. Okay. Big gap. I mean, there's obviously the airlines, looks like all the other airlines, but we're getting back to normal, and this is making its way back up here. So what are you seeing in SABR?
June 18th, seeing a big call buy.
June 18th. Okay. Looks like July as well. 15 calls. Okay. Stock up here. Okay. Obviously, big call buying. Let's see here. Time right around 10:30. Call buying. Yeah. Okay, call buying there for sure. People bidding. So call buyers here. What's going on here? July.
Looks like a lot of closing, I think.
Closing, huh? Okay. So this is the close here. See how the vol came straight down? It was going up, and then the vol came straight down with the stock also coming off. So that's a good read, I would think. It's on a spread somehow. So maybe there's another spread somewhere. What's that spread? 130? Here. There we go.
Nice.
There we go. Okay. So it looks like probably a sale and a put buy. So a sale here and a put buy here. So call buy. So that's 15.
And the 14s as well. 14 calls seem to be spread there too. Yep.
Gotcha. So while some people are, well, and it looks like it might be the same person. So let's try to figure out what they're doing here. So in July's, it looks like a sale. Let's see if this is 39 cents, 42 cents. Okay. Yeah. So in July, which doesn't have earnings, they're basically collecting some money buying puts. But this OI here, 19, I'd have to check. This might have been a sale. See that? So this buying puts here might be just buying back what they sold here. They made some money and now they're just getting into, they're sort of getting out of everything here. Okay, so this 14, okay, now it's starting to make sense. Okay, so what they've done here is they're actually, see the open interest here and open interest here, even here and 19,000 here. It looks like they are, it looks like they were long these calls and they were short these puts. They were bullish. Okay. I think we did something here, and I think that's what we saw, to be honest. Okay. But let's just assume that they were short these puts and they bought these calls with the proceeds. Now the stock goes way up $2, and now they're going to get out of these 14s and 15s. They're going to buy back their puts, and then they're going to say, you know what? Let's just get into these June 15s for 40 cents.
Right.
Okay, so that's what they're doing. That they're increasing their leverage here on this SABR, which is, that would, to me, would be a, I would say it's so. They're taking some profits in the Julys, and they're just taking a shot here on 25,000 at 40 cents. Okay, so they took some profits, and now they rolled everything into June. You see how we did that?
Nice. Yes.
Okay, so this was a buy. This is a buy, and then what they did was, it looks like they're closing in July. They had already these calls on. They had these puts for sale before, and now they're just closing that around.
Okay.
And they're just getting into June's.
Nice. Okay.
All right. That's good. I like that. SABR. Let's look at, one other name I just want to see. Are we seeing anything in AAL? I mean, Memorial Day flights were pretty good. That was also in the news today. We want to keep track. We want to keep track and keep an eye on this AAL chart. I think it's a good story, and we've done it over the course of the last 4 months, where we've had, obviously this low. We then had this support over here. We had this was a rejection. Okay, this was also a rejection here. Okay, that we were looking at. This wasn't so much. It didn't look like this. This was like a 1 day, very sharp. It took a little bit of time to get through here. So we went through these stages of actually going higher. And then it did this move over here. We were talking about the 20 level going back a few months. And then after it made this 26 high, we started seeing what right around here. We started seeing call selling and put buying right around here. Okay, so you have this climb. The whole time we were thinking, okay, we're talking about normal, right? This is normal, and we can even do this break right here, right around here. Okay, I don't want to do too much, but I want you to see this. So how it's been climbing. This was too fast of a move. The market sold it. The big money is buying. This big volume here is the big money. When you see things like this, these are 10-year holders, right? Huge holders for long term, and the fast money sold it off, right? They're waiting. Now it's climbing, and we're now back here. But when they were selling calls and buying puts here, and then what did we see over here, which was only a couple of weeks ago? We started seeing them buying calls again here. They were switching. They were coming back to the upside. Now the stock is 10% higher, and obviously the opening and the economy and good news coming in. Does it get back to normal? We talked about business class, and maybe things have changed as far as the way people do business. New York is starting to open up, as much as it could. Forget about what the mayor's done to the city, but you're starting to see people have to go back into work, and so the city's trying to get back to normal. Does that mean airlines get back to normal? I don't know. I think you gotta start digging deeper on how they make their money. What percentage of the revenues come from business class, and does that business class come back the way it was? It might be 50% from what the highs were in business class. It might have changed. The game might have changed here a little bit. So that's interesting to me. But you do have pent up vacations. People, let's call it 10 grand a year. A lot of people save up for vacations. Maybe they spend $5,000 to $10,000 a year. 1, maybe 2 vacations. Then that didn't happen last year, so there's a lot of discretionary income and savings willing to spend money on clothing and shopping, and also on things like going away for the weekend. So Memorial Day weekend was good for the airlines. Stock is doing well. Call buying here. I'm curious to see if we can actually get to 30.
Okay. Nice.
All right.
Cool.
Good.
Cool.
What else?
Let me throw you a curveball now. This was a weird one. In Tilray, just wanted to show you this. Just take a look at January 2023.
So Tilray is another one that I'm looking at. There was news on Friday on the marijuana industry on the MORE Act was trying to push into Congress and nobody cared. It's trying to get marijuana to be legal on the federal level. I think it's going to take a lot longer than a few weeks. I'll tell you that. I think it'll take probably a couple of years if that happens. It probably does happen at some point. That's the big moment where something like this stock could go way up. You might have to be sitting in it for a while and take the lumps as it comes. But I don't know. There was an upgrade in it last week. It's starting to look a little constructive here for a potential move towards this. You can start seeing, the decline. I'm a little hesitant here. I didn't like this move right here. You could see in June. So you're seeing what now, Marco?
January 2023. Yep.
Tilray. Let's see. This one?
Yep.
For sale?
Seems like.
Yep. Interesting. Yeah. So vol lower. Buy looks like 3 points here. So right on the bid. Yep. I would say that's better. So Tilray. So what's that? Tilray 375. So 375. How much can you make on that? What's the most how about this? What's the most Tilray 12 puts can be worth by January 2023? What's the most it can be worth? $12 puts.
8 something.
No, how much could it be worth? The total value of the puts. Not what you make, the total value. It's like who's buried in Grant's tomb. The total value it could be worth is $12 because it stopped at 0. Okay. So if you pay $375, then you sell it at $375, you could lose $8.25. Okay. So $8.25 divided by 375 is 2.2. So 2.2 times your money. The most that you can make is 2.2 times money. So you can lose 220% of what you lay. Now, what does that mean? So that's basically saying those to me are like, I call them bankruptcy puts, right? What's the probability of Tilray going bankrupt? Somebody selling that saying, you know what? We like the company long-term. I'm going to sell 20,000 of these today, and I'm going to collect $3.75. And you can think about it as a high yield bond, especially if they have all the money in the world and they want to own the stock lower and they say, we don't know what's going to happen. We think this is going to be a lot longer. The time to buy the stock is when, the government allows it to be a legal drug on a federal level. That's the time to buy. It's not going to happen for a while. I'm going to sell these puts and I'm going to stick around and just hold. Now, 375 divided by where's stock? $17. Let's call it 17. So I'm going to collect 22% over the course of the next, call it 17 months, 16 months. Okay. So 22% over 16 months, on an annualized basis, that's going to be about, 14%, maybe about 14% or so. So I'm going to collect 14% on an annualized basis, just holding Tilray. It's like a high yield bond, right? You're looking at it as something where, like you would buy a high yield bond and get a percentage. You get a 10-year bond is offering 1.65%. Here you're getting 14% annualized. It's not terrible. Nice. So someone's using options to basically say, I'll collect the dividend or collect this yield while I'm waiting for the stock to come my way. Okay. Cool. Now that's interesting. You brought that one because there's been a decent amount of selling that I've seen today. We saw the Exxon. I showed you that. Exxon. There's one in Triple M here today. Triple M. Let's see, July's. The 210 calls. These were for sale. Okay. See how the implied volatility came down. 230, and you can go back at time of sales and see that it was it was sold. I think it's interesting. I think when you look at these, it's not just looking at the buys. You can also look at the sales to sort of get a sense as to what might be happening in the near term. Okay, and by selling calls, you have a stock that has gone straight up. Industrial names have all gone straight up, basically. Okay, and maybe this is a little bit of a top here, but it's a strong stock. You got the 50-day here. The difference between the 50-day and the 200-day is pretty significant. So if it does start to turn, this is an industrial name. So if it does start to turn, can you see something down here in the 180s? Yeah, I mean, we'd be looking at this sort of level, 188 here. Where's this date right here? Good volume right here. So 188. 188, 184, this range right around here, this breakthrough right here, 188. If I'm boxing it, that's what I'm looking at. I'm trying to, they're not signaling that they think it's going way down, but they are trying to take some premium right here at 210. So, there you go. I'm going to take some premium because I don't think I'm going to get taken out of my stock. Triple M 210. I'm going to take how much? $2.30. So $2.30 over the next 6 weeks, 7 weeks, call it. So $2.30 over the next 8 weeks. That's on 3M. That's 1%. I mean, it's very good. Again, 10% annualized returns on that sale on a stock that they might be selling anyway. Remember in Penn Gaming where we saw the stock, they start selling, they're long 10 million shares of Triple M. When it gets to a certain level, they're not only are they going to sell 30% of it, 3 million shares, they also know that they're going to be doing that over the next 22 trading days, or let's call it 30 trading days, 6 weeks. And so there'll probably be a lid. There will probably be a lid on Triple M over the course of the next, I don't know, 6 weeks.
Right.
Now we're talking about 210 from 202 to 210. That's $8. That's 4% move. So yeah, and if it goes up another 4%, they'll probably sell another 20%. So either way, they're winning here because they're using their own flow to protect themselves against $2 that they could just put in their pocket. Okay, so
Cool.
Here I would say that you might see a pullback from 202. You can see something somewhere around the 190, 195, 196 level. Again, the 50 days right here. So just consider that. It's something to think about that for the first time we're starting to see maybe, some selling going on. They're doing it in ExxonMobil. They're doing it on Triple M. We see a Pepsi-Cola, another name that's had a good run. Pepsi-Cola. Call selling here. You see how the stock is traded off a little bit from the highs today. You look at Pepsi and, July 16th, same month and same amount, 10,000 for sale as a coupon, as a dividend, whatever you want to call it. They sold it here around 75 cents on a $147 stock, which is how much? $1.04. It's about 0.5%, a little bit more than 0.5%. So we'll say 0.5% over the next 7 weeks. So times 8, that's about 4 or 5%, just as a little bit of a dividend for them. So that's Pepsi. Anything else? Any other ones that you've seen in sale? I saw a couple. So Triple M, Pepsi, for sale. Calls.
HAL, Halliburton.
HAL. Okay, that's interesting. HAL. And this stock looks like it hasn't gone up as much as it wants to go up. It looks pretty damn good. Halliburton turned a corner. Sorry. HAL. Let's do that here. Okay, June's. So 3 weeks out. Selling puts. Vol looks like it's coming in. 28 cents. 35. Okay, so 29, 28, 28. Yep, looks like a sale. So we got a sale in Halliburton. 22, they're willing to buy it at 22. So that's bullish there. And you can see 22 is This is 22. Okay, 22. Can't make this up, right?
Nice.
People think I'm blowing smoke up everybody's behind. It's like, no, keep it simple. You can, I keep it simple. But, a lot of technicians, they don't like what I do. I just say, look, it's pretty simple. I just try to find where the highs and lows are. I try to find levels of interest with where the volume changed hands, right? Where the volume changed hands, or where there was a clear resistance or support level. And I think you could see some of that. And I'm looking for breakouts and gap moves. But 22 right here, it's all over the map here. One, a breakthrough. They held it here, even though it went down. Even though it went down that day, came back, held all the way up, came back down, through. So resistance, through. And now we're up here. So again, this is the highs. And right here is a little gap. So somewhere around 24 and a half is you're gonna see a little bit of that resistance. But these types of moves, if you look at it, remember the V, okay, that's pretty good, especially this sharp move rejection up here. So let's close this. Let's just focus on this one. See this from here to here?
Okay.
That's see that? Looks like a V straight up, came back down, support. This could be, again, give me a higher move in oil. This thing is going to go from 22. Right now, it's 18 and a half to about 24. That's about 5.5, 6. So 22 plus 5.5, 6, 27 and a half, 28. So, give me a good oil number, over the next couple of weeks. And you're talking this thing starts breaking through 24 and a half. If you want to get it context, right, that's just in the near term. But if you want to get context, then what you do is you just go back in time and you say, let me try to figure out what I'm seeing here. And then all of a sudden it opens up. You're like, whoa, look at this now. All of a sudden you got something that's, this is a big level, 24. See here, 24, 24, 24. I mean, I don't want to make you laugh, but I always say Ray Charles can see that. You liked that one the last time.
Yeah, it was great.
All right. So 24 and look, I mean, it's a big level. So, there's something going on here with these oils. I would, you need that $100 oil and you're going to get this thing moving like this. So, somebody's selling puts here. They're selling it because they want to get long at 22. They're willing to get long. And for the next, how many days is that? They're doing it to June. So 3 weeks. So they got 14 days and they'll collect 14 days. They'll collect 28 cents. Nice. But it's because they want to get long. It's because they, again, in my mind, the way I think about it is their only position is not just short 9,000 puts in Halliburton. I don't think that that's like their whole position. I think they're also buying the stock for the next 3 weeks. And so they don't care. They know they're going to keep that 28 cents. Right? Do you understand the logic?
Yep.
If I know I'm buying 50 million shares of Halliburton, it's not going to 22. Because if it goes to 22, I'm buying all of my shares down there, right? Because I have a direction to buy, get aggressive. Gets below 22, I want you to buy 30 of the 50 million shares.
Right.
So guess what? The thing's not going through 22 is the thought. Now you get a collapse in the market and yeah, it'll start moving towards that. But for right now, then they'll just leave the puts and say, fine, we're happy to own it. Don't buy 900 or 1 million shares of stock. We'll just let those puts come to us and we'll own them there. You see the logic?
Nice. Yeah.
So again, it's sort of putting the story together, selling premium and looking at the unusual option activity on the sell side is just as important to get an idea of the logic of what people might be doing at certain levels.
Okay, cool.
Capiche?
Capiche. I love it. Thank you, Felix. Thanks, everyone. Great to be back. Like the video if you haven't, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Good. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Yeah, bye.